Alright guys, today I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to read from this book, I Am That by Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. This book has been extremely inspiring for me, and it's almost like you can just read a couple of paragraphs and just sit and think about it for days. So it's taken me months to get through even half of this book, and I feel like I can just go back and reread the parts that I've already read. So today I'm going to be reading from number 48, which says awareness is free. And the way this book is written is it's a conversational style. There was a gentleman, I forget his name, that was sitting there, that was a person that understood the English language, because Maharaj didn't speak in English. So he was sitting there throughout many of these meetings when people would ask these questions. So locals would come in and ask questions, and Maharaj would answer them. And so it's a conversational style. So one guy is asking questions. So he says, I find by nature that I am very active. Here I am advised to avoid activity. The more I try to remain inactive, the greater the urge to do something. This makes me not only active outwardly, but also struggling inwardly to be what by nature I am not. Is there a remedy against longing for work? So I've talked about this on the channel. This is what I call letting the do die, so you know exactly what to do. And I spent, probably a year in Costa Rica just sitting there moving through this need to move, this rajastic energy of I've got to do something. And the first fear that comes up is, will I survive? You get fears from the first chakra saying, how will I make money? Will I survive? And this gets very interesting. So Maharaj's answer here is, there's a difference between work and mere activity. All of nature works. Work is nature. Nature is work. On the other hand, activity is based on desire and fear, on longing to possess and enjoy, on fear of pain and annihilation. All the stuff coming from the lower three chakras, right? Work is by the whole for the whole. Activity is by oneself for oneself. How profound is that? If we can actually admit, this is kind of like the service to self versus service to others, and the whole idea of intention, which we talk a lot about too. The idea that we have to stay active, if we can realize that it's coming from an internal fear or insecurity, and we're worried about ourself mostly when that happens. So then the questioner comes back and says, is there a remedy against activity? The Maharaj answers, watch it, and it shall cease. Use every opportunity to remind yourself that you are in bondage, that whatever happens to you is due to the fact of your bodily existence. Desire, fear, trouble, and joy cannot appear unless you are there to appear too. Yet whatever happens points to your existence as a perceiving center. Disregard the pointers and be aware of what they are pointing to. It is quite simple, but it needs to be done. What matters is the persistence with which you keep on returning to yourself. So what he's saying is, all of these urges that we have, whether it's I gotta go do this, I gotta go do that, I'm afraid of this, whatever, that are moving you around, desires and fears, he's saying that that's okay, you allow that, but you notice that each one of them is actually pointing to the one who is aware of them. So right there, you have your seat of consciousness. You have what the roar technique teaches you, which is sitting back in the seat of consciousness and becoming aware. And he says the most important thing, I believe, is what matters is the persistence in which you keep on returning to yourself. So as you watch these things, it gets easier and easier. And as you sit back in that seat of consciousness, in that awareness, rather than riding every wave that comes up on the ocean, you become the ocean. And you sit back and you start to watch these urges. And instead of acting on them, which is riding the wave, you just watch them and you become aware of them. And when you do this in the beginning, it's challenging, and you may end up jumping up and needing to move and not being able to sit. But after a while, it gets easier and easier, because what you're doing is you're turning awareness upon itself. You're turning that focal point from out to back into yourself. And that's the way home. That's the way to be free of bondage and suffering. So we practice simply being with ourselves as much as we can. And we watch these thoughts and we watch these urges, And the more that we don't touch them and we become aware of them as the observer, then the less they get, because you're essentially, when you face that flashlight, let's say it's like a light, you face it outward on the thoughts and on the little waves on the ocean, then you become the waves and you're like, I gotta go, and then you get sucked up in 5 days, 5 years, 5 months, whatever, of activities where you're just like, and you haven't even really truly been conscious. Definitely haven't been aware. But as you turn that light backwards on yourself and you watch the watcher and you watch the stuff as it comes by and you know that you're the watcher, you can actually move beyond that too, but that's beyond this video. You become the observer and you watch the thoughts and you create that separation and you realize you're not the mind, you're not the body. And it begins to free up, and it doesn't really take that long. You can practice this, but you have to practice it. You have to sit down and do this over and over and over, and you'll start to feel the grip of the illusion or the great Maya to loosen on you. And you begin to realize that when something needs done, you get it done. You go do it, you get it done. It's not a matter of complete inactivity. It's about flowing. It's about what the Taoists call the Wu Wei. When Source moves through you, instead of doing something, you're being done. And it only comes through practice and through awareness, realizing that you are the awareness of what you're seeing. You're not the thought. And that begins the separation, and that begins the way home. So give it a try, know thyself, and be free.